Welcome back to the Motion Raceworks YouTube channel. Today we're talking about oil pumps, and this also relates to fuel pumps, but the main topic of conversation today is suction hose and just hose in general you should be using on high performance applications. This is often lost in translation, and there's a lot of lookalike products out there that kind of will keep you second guessing, or maybe you just don't pay attention and assume it's good because it's from brand XYZ. On these house brands is that a lot of these are hoses that are overseas hose that are basically, people are presented with this, they say, well, put your name on it, and all of a sudden this company, which isn't a hose or fitting manufacturer, is now in the hose and fitting business. That may be fine, but the problem I've seen is the inconsistencies in the product that are made. You need to take a look at the standards on these hoses. Just because it's a black nylon hose or it's a corrugated PTFE hose doesn't mean it's the same. And by that, what I mean is how it's made itself, not just the inner material, which holds up to the fuel or whatever internally, but the construction of the actual hose, the outer hose, the reinforcement. So on this black nylon hose, this is just a rubber hose of sorts. And you can see it has a stainless braid on the inside. So that stainless is actually wound around it all the way up and down. Some of these, it's actually impregnated into it as well. But basically that holds it rigid, so it can't really move around very much, both expansion or collapse, plus it is like a protective layer. This is actually their race light hose from Fergola. It's corrugated externally. It's a PTFE core, and it still has that stainless winding around it. And why that's important is that as the suction begins on these, which is pulling oil from the tank or from the engine, as I described earlier, or on a fuel system, it's pulling fuel from the tank. As suction begins to build, if it's not properly constructed, it doesn't have that reinforcement, it can suck that line dry, which obviously is going to starve oil from the motor, not do its job pulling oil out of the motor on the scavenge side, and then also on the fuel side, it's going to collapse and cause starvation of fuel to the motor, which we don't have to explain what happens then. Back to my point. Not all hose is created equally. I have seen a lot of this hose where you can basically pinch it together. It's not suction rated. It may look like some of the stuff I just showed you, but it's not made for vacuum at all, which means it's going to close. It's going to not deliver oil. It's not going to deliver fuel. On our oil pump line side of things, if you start up your engine, or you're just trying to prime it dry without the engine running and you're not able to get oil, but there's oil to the pressure section of the pump, there's a pretty good chance you're collapsing the line. Sometimes it's a kink in the line, like you have it bent too fast, too far. That happens as well. But more times than not, especially with non-name brand hose, it's going to suck shut inside of it. It's going to be hard to really determine, but you can potentially watch it, especially, like I said, if you're priming it. But obviously, as the engine spins more and more, it's going to create more and more suction, vacuum, and all that. And all of that's going to get tremendously worse. So going down the track, it can be an even worse problem than what it is when you're trying to prime it or just test it out here in the pits or at your house. So when you are laying out your oil and fuel lines, definitely not somewhere to skimp on, not somewhere to test untested hose on, especially if you really want to guarantee performance. Pick a good name brand. Don't just pick whatever relabeled company is cheap and easy on Amazon. That will definitely suffice in some applications. You talk about things like catch cans and all that different type of stuff. Yeah, sure, if you want to use it there, that's fine. But when you're talking about something that is delivering oil, delivering fuel to your motor, you're going to want to go with a good name brand. And I'm not advocating just for one brand. I just want to see you guys have success. And that starts with the proper components to go along with the project that you're building. So take a look at that. Make sure it's vacuum rated. And if you have questions about any of that, definitely give your oil pump or fuel pump manufacturer a call. It's going to make a difference in the performance of what you're trying to do, whether now or in the future. Also, quick tip, some of this race light style hose where it's corrugated, PTFE, that stuff has a pretty indefinite life. The nylon stuff, not so much. So remember, after so much time, you're going to need to look at replacing it anyways. There's obviously a cost difference, so I'm not really just saying use one or the other, because obviously different projects and stuff like that might warrant one over the other from a cost savings and usability and availability standpoint, but don't forget that, because as that stuff deteriorates, it can begin to collapse on its own anyways down the road and in the future. Hey guys, if you want to be successful with a external wet sump, a dry sump, mechanical fuel pump, or just any high volume fuel pump, make sure you remember to take a look at what hose you're using. Make sure it's not sucking shut. That's going to cause you a lot of problems now and in the future. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you liked this Tech Tip Tuesday. We're going to keep them coming. If you have ideas for the next one, drop them down in the comments below. Until next time, see you later.